Welcome to Empowered Heart to Heart, where you'll hear messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. Well, hey, it's Rhonda Simmons, and welcome to another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. I am so glad that you are here because without you, there wouldn't be an Empowered Heart to Heart. And so I'm so glad you're here. If you are watching us on our YouTube channel, make sure that you like, comment, and share this video and subscribe too so that you'll know every time a new video is posted. Make sure you also connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And our handle is at TSEFIORG. That's the short version of the Simmons Empowerment Foundation Incorporated, of which I am the founder and CEO. I am super excited because I'm also a master certified professional coach. And so I get to work with some of the best people. And I say that all the time because I just like seeing the good in people. And today is no exception. As I like to say, I have met some of the best people this side of heaven on this podcast. And so I am super duper excited that we get to interview someone else today. I'm telling you, grab your cup of coffee, your tea, or as we like to say in Texas, your sweet tea. Or if you just have to drink a soda, drink a soda. Ugh, that stuff burns all the time. But I am here and I am ready because I'm going to learn something new. So many times what keeps us locked in our small worlds is because we won't allow new information to get in that can help us and heal us. Because, like I love to say, our motto is that on this podcast, we present messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. And so you're in the right place at the right time. And I have a special guest today. I want you to get ready to meet Elle Marie. I'm telling you, she is fantastic. Let me tell you a little bit about her background. She went from a mental health coach, a mental health counselor, to being a life coach. And so I am excited to find out, why'd you do that? What's going on? What happened in her world to bring that about? Because she has got some information for us that she's going to share about getting the healing that we need in a specific area of our lives. Are you ready? Are you ready? It's time. Let's meet Elle Marie. Hello, Elle. How are you?
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you're up early and ready to talk.
I am always ready to talk.
Yes. So I read your bio and it says that you went from being a mental health counselor, which, by the way, thank you. That is, for those that may not know, that's one of the professions called the helping professions. And so thank you for all that you do to help people. But you chose to make a shift and become a life coach. Can you tell us what led you to that moment and what brought about that transformation?
I'll be honest in just a few words or less because I in the mental health therapy profession that I feel like unless you're to this place that you're ready to heal, it's a victim place. And I came home, a lot of times I was very drained. I was exhausted to the point that my mental health often suffered. You will see a lot of clinicians that their mental health suffers because you take on everything from all your clients. You put it on. Even if you have great self-care, it's a lot to take on. So you bring it home, you bring it to your family, you think about it at night. So I've always known that I wanted to get to a place where people were ready to change their lives. Quite often, a lot of times when they're on that side, they were mandated to go, or somebody told them you got to get some therapy. And I mean, I'm not saying a lot of people saying, I need help. I've gone to therapy. I had to go because of my master's or whatever. So I get it. But usually with my story, I like to be on the side that, you know what, I'm tired of being on the nail. I'm ready to do the work because it takes a lot of work. I can't, you can't just get the tools and expect it to work. A lot of times we're changing um, lifelong patterns and habits, and you have to be committed and intentional. So that is the reason why I'm now a life coach. And the second point on that is therapy and counseling usually goes back. Again, because of my story, I like to start. Yes, it makes a big difference, but where am I now? I can't keep blaming the past. Where am I now, and where do I want to go? So I like to work with people that are going to that way. I'm happier. I feel like that I'm much more effective, and my family is a lot more happier. So hopefully that answers your question. And that's where
Yes.
therapists are going towards coaching, because you have the restrictions with insurance companies. I mean, we do a lot, and it's a lot on our bodies and mentals, and they cut your pay, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of therapists actually are going into coaching because we are more solution focused.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up because I was going to ask on behalf of our audience for you to explain the difference between therapy and coaching. And you did an excellent job.
Mhm,
I think that's one of the primary questions I get too when
mhm,
people call and say, "Oh, I need a therapist."
mhm,
And I explain to them, no, I'm not a therapist, I'm a
mhm,
coach. And then you have to explain the difference because people just see it all as one. And I
mhm,
love how you said it's, that you're solution focused.
mhm.
And so, okay, what is your specialty in life coaching? Because saying a life coach, I mean, that's really broad. So I know you have a specialty. What
I
is it?
have I have a specialty. So it started out as I've worked a lot therapist in a hospital. I have worked abroad as a school counselor. I'm certified to be a school counselor as well. And I have always worked with everybody. I don't care what it is that you have going on. I'm a mom. I've been through a lot myself. So everything somebody throws at me, I know something about it. So whenever I'm working with a family, there's always, and that's that therapist part, there is a root to everything. So the conversation. So for instance, if I'm a counselor at a school, a child is acting up, I need to see the other piece. And 9 times out of 10, the piece is the parent. That is why the child is not successful. That goes into mama crying. She got problems. She got issues. Her mama didn't do something. And so I started to see a long time ago, 10 plus years ago, that I started to see this thread similar to what I had, these feelings of not being enough. I grew up knowing something was off. I'm not enough. I'm never going to be enough. And it was this something that was being preached in my home, quite honestly. I struggled a lot in my teens to my 20s, a lot of depression. I'll be honest, suicidality, anxiety. I just didn't trust what was going on with me. My mother and I didn't have a very good relationship at all, very unemotional towards me. I'm an empath. I love to hug. I'm a people person. Her, not so much. I felt that. I internalized that in my life. My mind always had me going one step, get this degree, get this together, whatever. Finally, about the time I turned 30, I was like, my mental health struggled severely. I wanted to go to my mom and say, I'm struggling. I was married. I had 3 children. I My 20s were just like a lot of depression, and I could not go to my mother. And so I did this Hail Mary and said, you know what? I need to fight for myself. I want a divorce. Unfortunately, unfortunately, over the next 18 months, he lost it. Didn't want the divorce. I was homeless. It's a big story, but basically homeless, lost my car, lost my job. He took my children out of the state, actually to Texas. And my little babies were not with me, 2, 3, and 9, for about a year. You guys, I was maybe 100 pounds. Mentally, I was in a bad spot. Fast forward, and again, no help, but something always tells me, don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. No help. What I heard was, this is your fault. Same thing that I've always been hearing. And I'm like, I just want to be happy. This is not what I wanted. But all these negative thoughts, things that I had heard since growing up, you're not enough. You don't deserve this. You'll never get this. I had to file bankruptcy. And I'll be honest with you guys, in my 30s, this same ex-husband got on drugs. He had a drug overdose and he passed away. I was able to get my children back, rebuild our lives. We built a home. I went back and got my bachelor's. My middle child struggled a lot with grief. So I was enmeshed in this grief with this child from his father and this trauma that he had experienced. By this time, I had finished my bachelor's, was learning that I'm a lifelong learner. And I was subbing, and they had a death at the school. And I knew when I went to go sub that the lights went on and I had to go into counseling. And so by this time, I started to understand. So when I got my master's, everybody always says she's so on point because people want to see what they want to see. Go to residency and I'm not on point. I keep hearing this same imposter syndrome. You're not good enough. You can't do this. You don't deserve this. To the point that I almost didn't pass the class. My instructor said, you got to get some therapy. So I had a coming to Jesus moment. I'm like, you know what? Your mom just keeps coming in your head and you're 40 something. Well, anyway, I came back out of a little therapy, moved on. And somewhere around that time, I heard the term, the mother wound. And I'm like, the mother wound? The mother wound is when you grow up with a parent, a mother specifically, that is not very emotionally supportive in the home. And it causes you to feel like you're an imposter, that you're not enough, you're a people pleaser, you don't have boundaries. And I saw how all this was reverberating in my life with my employers, with my spouse, my significant others and my friends. And I'm like, oh my God, I can name a thing now. I have the mother wound. It's not you, girl. It is not me. I started to do the research, do the work, started to get it together. And long story short with that, I was able to not internalize things with my mom and all this stuff. And we actually have a great relationship today. So I'm kind of fast forwarding through that because I see Miss Coach there. Okay. So around that time, so we'll fast forward. Again, my husband and I, we moved out of the country. So basically I'm back in Florida now after living in the Middle East for several years. About 2 years ago, we moved back. Well, I did. And I said, let me go to the school up here because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I started, I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do what I need to do. And I had been dabbling with coaching for years, did a little bit, would get a couple clients, pull back, something else will come up. And finally I said, I'm just done. Let me do me. And I started parent, there's a need for parents and boundaries and structure. That's just not what my heart was. So around October, my husband, he kept saying, when are you going to write your book? Everybody kept saying, when are you going to write your book? And quick caveat. I met with a guy, and I'm almost done. I met with a guy, I had a coaching session with this guy. I met with him for a year. He's in his 30s. You guys, he had the mother wound. He was so resistant to that. And even when I tell people, when I hear it, they're like, I ain't got no mother wound. But when they realize that's where it's coming from, you see it come down. Anyway, he kept saying, where's the book? You need to write a book. October, I wrote my book, got great response. And finally I said, you know what? This is where my heart is. And so I changed from family. So I work with women over 40 and 50 that have the mother wound, that are trying to go to these wounded little girls to warrior women, because I know it's possible. That's my story. And here I am with Coach Rhonda.
Girl, I am fighting back the tears because I can so relate to so much of your story. And we'll talk after this podcast. But oh my goodness, what an
But what I want
amazing.
to what I want to kind of, and I didn't mean to cut you off. This is what I get, and a lot of time in when I wrote the book, I had did a lot of work. Like I said, me and my mother, we vacationed. I couldn't even be in the room with this lady. To the point where through my life, I used to think, if my mother doesn't love me, God doesn't love me. But I've had the conversation with my mother. She didn't have it to give. A lot of times our moms don't have it to give us. And her mom didn't give it to her. She didn't know how to give me what I need. But through all of this, I'm starting to be like, I'm amazing because she didn't give it to me. So when I hear stories, when I'm meeting with women, with my daughter, even though I've changed, we still bump heads. So when I hear this, the lump in the throat, the tears, this is where my mantra says, it's not you, sis. You've been good enough all along. I've been good enough. Y'all been good enough. It's the wound that was given to you, not the wound that we woke up and said, I want to be wounded. I want to feel like I'm not enough all my life. No. And when we get to the point to make that shift and say, you know what? I'm not subscribing to that. He didn't have it to give me, so I don't internalize it, and I move on with respect without the need to have um, an apology. Or like when I had the conversation with my mom was like, I did the best I could. And I said, you know what? I appreciate it. And I'm telling you, my mama is my boo. When 15 years ago, we couldn't even be in the same room together without me crying and us arguing. And you don't like me and all this kind of stuff. And now we just like that. So, you know.
Wow. Wow. I'm taking a moment to breathe because I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm remembering one specific memory as a teenager with my mother. And I love her dearly, and she's passed away, and a lot of what's in me I get from her, my strength and my determination, my relentlessness, I get from her. But she made one statement to me as a teenager that has fueled me ever since. And that was the day when she told me, "You'll never be nothing." And she only said it one time.
Enough.
And and that has been an underlying thing for me. I ended up getting my bachelor's, my master's, my teacher certification, my principal certification, and I'll be graduating in May with my doctorate. um, as if I'm still trying to prove to her, oh yeah, I will. I'll be something. And so I totally understand this concept. And so one of the things that you said that I really loved as we wrap up is you said you're solutions focused and that you like looking to the future where you're going. So my question to you is, if you were to write a letter to yourself, to your future self today, if you were to write that letter today to your future self, what would you be telling your future self?
So when it comes right on. Don't believe the dumb beep. Don't believe it. I don't care where it comes from. Don't believe it. Don't believe that you're not enough. Don't believe that you'll never be enough. Don't believe that you shouldn't be a dreamer. Don't believe it. I understand as children, or that we need people to validate, especially people that are close to us. But somewhere inside of us, we have to keep fighting that. You know what? It's not. I can't accept that. I can't accept that. So when that's would be the advice. Don't accept anything. When I'm working with clients, I'm usually spot on. They're like, how do you figure that out? Because I'm very intuitive. Probably because no one was ever in tune with me, but I'm very in tune with people. And it's like, and I'll say, I could be wrong, and that's fine. Take what you need, discard what you don't. So we have to be mindful. If it sets in our spirit, you know what, let's just look into it. But if it didn't serve you, then let it go. So yes, I agree. It's hard to do that. It's hard to do it. And sometimes it takes a lifelong of doing it, especially when it comes to the person that we think that we should feel the safest or trust the most. So I get it. But if I had any advice, don't believe it. Don't believe it. You can be and do anything you want to do in this world. You can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Elle, thank you so much for being on our show.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, you have been a phenomenal guest, and the information that you're putting out is so needed, because we need to do the work. I hate to think that I'm allowing the past to
Mm,
dictate my future and to set the limits for my future. That's
yes.
not how this story is going to end. And so,
But you know, when I
and
was writing the book, and if we all think about that, just think about what you just said and what I've been told and what we've accomplished and other people have accomplished. Just imagine. And I got mad when I was writing the book, like, really? Just imagine what we've accomplished with that seed that was planted. So just imagine where we could be if we didn't. So when you're to that place that you're like, okay, I'm good with it. Now I know better. I'm going to do better. Then you can be like, thank you, God. I did. not fall by the wayside. So there's a lot of work, but it's just really just getting the tools. Really, that's it. You'll be okay. We'll all be okay. We're gonna heal
Yes,
the
we will.
wound from the scar. That's all.
Yes, we will. So, Elle, thank you again for
Thank
being
you.
on the show. If you'll just hang out for a moment, I'm going to wrap up this episode and I'll get right back with you, okay?
Thank you. Bye bye.
Right now. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, man, oh man, oh man, you have got to get Elle's book called Mother Wounded to Warrior, a transformational guide to healing mother wounds. And it's on the screen. I'll also put it in the description under the video and under the podcast. Get her book. Why are you suffering in silence when you don't have to? You know, it is amazing how God has provided everything that we need to be healed, to grow, to prosper. But unless we reach out and accept what He has provided, we're going to stay stuck in that place of being wounded. When God is saying, I didn't call you to be wounded, I called you to be a warrior. And so get the book, get the book. Get the book. You don't want to miss it. And I'm sure somewhere in that book, there'll be a way to reach out to Elle, to Coach Elle, and know that you're in good hands because she's coaching not just from a place of her own experience, but she is bringing expertise to the table. She's not just someone that woke up one day and said, oh, I want to be a life coach. Woohoo. So I'm a life coach. No, she's bringing expertise, years of experience, and most of all, compassion and heart to the table. You want to make sure you get in the room with Elle. And so get the book. It'll bless your soul. I know it will. And so thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And as always, be blessed, be encouraged, but most of all, be empowered. And we'll see you next time.